Hi, I'm Trisha Morris at Club Scrap, and check out this adorable miniature Matchbox ornament. It's pretty cute. It has a little Noel in the front. It has a sleeve, and when you slide it out, there's your Matchbook tray with your little drawer. And I added an ornament hanger here because I think it would make an adorable Christmas tree ornament, but you can skip that part. And then along in the inside of the tray, you can see this cute little book. And it has a little decorative spine there, and then the pages inside are all decorated as well with elements from the Club Scraps Christmas Time collection. I actually used elements from the digital hybrid kit to size them and print them out, and I just printed them on a sheet of cardstock and then cut them out with my craft knife and ruler and a cutting mat, and was able to add them to the piece along with some additional wine-colored matting paper. So that's the project, and I just thought it would be easier for me to just show you a few things about how I made it. I've created a document download of instructions that you can follow along with. And for starters, I've already completed some of the scoring involved for this piece. The Matchbook tray, which is the size of it mentioned on the form, the sleeve, which I've used with this cute little dotty paper, and then a Matchbook paper, and then a little cover. So I have not yet scored the Matchbook paper. Let's just do that. And for it, I'm using my favorite little tool, the Score Pal. And one thing I don't use on my Score Pal, though, is the plastic bone folder. I use an actual bone folder when I'm scoring whenever possible. Okay, this is 5 by 7, and we're going to score it horizontally at 1 3/4, 3 1/2, and 5 1/4. I'm going to rotate it so now it's vertical in the Score Pal, and I'll score it 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4. Now, essentially, scoring is not absolutely imperative, but I like doing it just because it helps, you know, kind of guide my folds. Now, I have all 4 of my Matchbook pieces scored, and now we have to do some prep work. For that, I'm going to use the scissors, and we'll start with the Matchbook tray itself. And on my instructions, I've created a little diagram, and the solid lines on the diagram indicate exactly where you need to be doing some trimming. And orientation is important with this. Just make sure your Matchbook tray is positioned vertically, and we'll make a cut just on the inside of the innermost score line, and we're going to stop when we reach the second intersecting score line to make a little tab. And then I'm going to cut on the other side of the score line. Just basically, the only thing I want to do is remove the score line, and then that will help me create a cute little tab. Or it's kind of making a dart. Okay, and then along the innermost side of the outer score line, I'm going to make another angled cut, and then over on this side, coming in from the side to remove this corner. I'll do the same on the other side. Go up to the second intersecting score line, come in from the side to remove the corner, and now I have these attractive little tabs here, and then I'm going to flip the whole thing around. So now I'm doing it from the other end. So again, my Matchbook is still vertical. I'll add a little dart, just basically removing the score line itself. And I love my Fiskars spring-loaded scissors here. It's just great for jobs like this. And then come in from the side, just to create some tabs here and some flaps that I'll fold over to create the little matchbox. Okay, so that's the piece I'm after for my Matchbook. I'm going to get out my cork board and an awl in which to pierce a couple of holes. Now, we're going to be folding along these scores so that the bump of the score is on the inside of the fold, and that's the side I'm going to work on right now as well. What I want to add is a single hole within this area, right in the center. Boom. Notice I eyeballed that. Now we're going to add 2 holes at the top. I also am eyeballing this. You know, when you're working with something this small, you know, it is what it is. It's pretty easy to see. Okay, the single hole is designed to perform as a cute little drawer. I'm going to pull out a copper brad here, insert the brad into the pierced hole on the side where the divot of the score line is, and spread the prongs on the side that has the bump of the score. Okay. I also have a 9-inch piece of waxed linen. I will enter the 2 holes with each tail on the side with the raised score lines. Pull the thread tails to an even length, and now you can see this loop right here, and that's good. And then I'm just going to take the tails and make a loop to tie them together at the top, and that will be used then to hang the ornament. Okay. Now we have these prongs and we have the wax linen, and we want to hide all of that. And we have our handy, awesome, I'm addicted to this thing, this needle-tipped applicator. It's filled with our awesome bookbinding glue. And I'm going to just simply fold in on these, what I would call long vertical walls. Okay, just fold them in, and I want to glue them down. So I'll apply glue to the outermost area here, and then just fold in and put some pressure on them until the glue sort of cures and the wells don't pop up anymore. And with this bookbinding glue, it has a really fast drying time, so it shouldn't take too long. And done. Okay, next step's pretty easy. I'll fold up on the tabs. I will also fold up on what I would call the short walls. It's always good to have some defined spaces. Okay, everything's sort of prepped. I'll show you on a dry run how this is going to go down. The side walls will come up, or the long walls, however you want to see, and you want them to be vertical, and then this short little wall will come up and over to make the tray. So where do I need adhesive? Basically, only 2 little places. Right here, along the short wall at the top, and on the outside of the short wall at the bottom. This is going to do 2 things. It's going to create my matchbook, and it's also going to cover the entire pronged area, and it will also cover the wax linen thread loop on this side. So again, just fold the tabs in at a 90-degree angle, and then bring that short wall up and over. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Beautiful. Just hold that for a second till it cures, and now I have a little Matchbox tray. How about we make our matchbook sleeve right now? We have some score lines on here that I've advised you to make, and this is where having that score pad with the 1/8 inch scores all the way across really make a big difference. Now once you have this scored and pre-folded, there will be one shorter piece at the very end. Let's position this horizontally so the shorter piece is on the end and fold it over. This is kind of a nice little trick. This tab will get folded in on the inside of the tray, so I'm adding bookbinding glue to the right side of this paper, and then I'll just fold over onto the tab. I want to make sure there's no glue oozing out from the other side, gluing your tray together, or your sleeve. And see, now you can see that tab's on the inside of the tray. I'm sorry, of the sleeve. And then slide that right in. Fits perfectly. Isn't that sweet? Okay, a couple other things to make now. We've got our book. It's going to be a maze book, which I think is amazing. Alright, so we're going to start out by pre-folding on the score lines that we made earlier. And here's the bump of my score, so that will be on the inside of my fold. And before I actually make the crease, I'm going to align the edges to make sure they're just perfect. And then burnish the crease with my bone folder. And then I'm going to rotate it now so that it's like a tent. So that here's my mountain fold. Here's a free edge. Take the free edge, fold it up to the mountain. Never down into a valley. If you're folding down into a valley, it will not be a very accurate fold. Now just flip the whole works over. Here's a free edge. Bring it up to the mountain. And once again, I'm really just double checking here to make sure I'm making accurate folds. I think the smaller the project, the more accurate our folds are important. Without a good quality fold, we're not going to have a very good foundation for our book. So now we have a little W. I'm going to open it again, and we made a hot dog fold before. Now we're going to make a hamburger fold. That means short way. All right, so lining up my corners as accurately as I can. Burnish. I'll rotate, so now it's like a tent. Here's my mountain. Take one free edge, fold up to the mountain. Now I taught this in a class recently, and this is what I was seeing. This. You don't want to do it that way. You always want to make sure your mountain and your clean, your work surface is adjacent to where you're folding, so you can really see perfectly. and then flipping, folding again to create that 2 mountains now and 2 valleys. Let's open this back up now. We'll make 3 cuts, and if you've downloaded and printed the instructions, those 3 cuts are indicated on the diagram by a solid line. You can make those cuts one of 2 ways. You can cut with a grid ruler, a craft knife, and cutting mat, or you can do it with a scissors. Let's just try it with this grid ruler. I love my grid ruler because I know that the width of these columns is 1 3/4 inch, and so I can actually put my ruler, this is the 2x8, which I love, so that it's 1 3/4 inches from the edge of my paper. That way I know I'm making my cut right on the nose, okay? That's the first one. The next one goes in the middle. Maybe I can also make sure it's nice and level. And I'm starting at the top score, horizontal score, going down to the bottom edge. And I'll flip it again. And again, if you're having any doubts about this, you want to consult the diagram. I'm going to position my paper again so that my ruler is on the edge and cut so that what I've just created here is sort of like an M or a W, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay, now I will be doing some folding. So if I consider the way a book would naturally open, this first valley fold would be my first page of my book. And when I arrive at the end here, I obviously have to turn a corner. So this fold is currently going the wrong direction, so I'm just going to fold over and then follow the maze to the end of the row here, then fold under, follow the maze to the end of the road, fold, and now I have a darling little book. And I can make some fine-tune alignments before I burnish these folds. Notice I did that all at once. It worked beautifully. Okay. Now the book will pop open by itself, and that's okay. Sometimes what you can do is glue the backs of the pages together so they don't flop open. But the remedy to that happens all in one fell swoop with our cute little dark brown scored book cover paper. I'll fold along the score lines, always making sure my paper edges line up. Just make little tweaks. Okay. Here's my book. I'm going to make it so that I have a clean, naturally opening page right here, and do a test fit for my cover. It's just darling. Best way to add your cover is hold your book in place, and I'm going to apply the glue to the cover itself, leaving it free of the spine. Go on over and tack it down onto my page, and I'll flip it, leaving the glue free of the spine again. Ta-da! Nice. Now I have a darling book that fits in a darling matchbook tray with a darling little sleeve. So one more peek at the finished one. Here it is with my cut aparts. And again, to just trim them all out, and I added a little mat for each one of them in a coordinating paper. The measurement of that, it's kind of an oddball. It's 1 1/8 by 1 5/8. That's what the mat will need to be the perfect size for these tiny little pieces of artwork. And again, you can decorate to heart's content. Ha ha ha, heart's content. I also did the same exact project, but in a different version. This is from Club Scrap's literature kit, and I didn't happen to make it a, I have this one backwards. I didn't make it a ornament. I just have a different decorative nail head as a drawer pull, and I used a cut apart to create the title. And this I did not use any digital hybrid items. I just used things I had printed. And then the little cute postage stamps that were in the kit. And I had some other dazzles just in my stash that I used. So sweet. Well, there you have it. I hope you give this little matchbook box a try. I mean, I just think it's worth the effort to create this darling little book. And it would make a beautiful gift for the holidays. And also, don't forget to follow our YouTube channel so you don't miss any other fun videos.